do my VHS camcorder as my webcam.
Oh.
I hooked it up the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
My favorite YouTube channel did an entire, they do movie reviews, Red Letter Media. Don't know if you're familiar with them. But they did an entire episode where they filmed it all on VHS.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Nice.
Right, let's see.
What's up, everybody? Getting ready to do a little show here.
Oh, that was you.
What?
I was like, what's dinging at me?
What's dingusing at you? All right. Let some people trickle in here. Everything's playing over here. Bat signal's out. Looks like we're good there. Let's see. Get a little Facebook action for my two friends. And then do a little shoe. Who's coming in here? Sarah, what up? Maria, what up? Claudia, what up? Jason, Scott. Looks like my Facebooks is good.
Information.
Hey, everybody, watch the show.
Soon.
All right.
Sorry, y'all.
Cool.
What's it doing? YouTube.com/Mograph.
Podcast.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing Mography stuff.
You know.
Like Mograph.com stuff. I gotta pop out the chat. Sorry, y'all.
What up, Jen?
Getting on
Popped in to say hi. Zoo Day. I want to go to Zoo Day.
You should go to Zoo Day.
Let's go to Zoo Day.
Zoo Day?
I want to go to there.
So,
Okay. Mograph events.
come on.
All right.
To YouTube. In a world.
In a world. All right. Everybody good? Everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Well, I don't have Mograph TV on yet.
Man.
Working on it. I'm sorry, y'all. I screwed all of this up.
Didn't rip the knob off. It's been on in my backyard. I've been watching classic Chris Schmidt in my backyard.
On Mograph.tv. Or Mograph TV.
Mograph TV, yeah. Botched is here. Chris is here. Who else is here? Mr. Solomon.
Got a couple of Rocket Lasso regulars coming in.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Hi, everybody. Now we can do a show.
That's right. All right. Good to go?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Chris Schmidt.
Hey, fellas. Thanks for having me again.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, artist suggestions, show topic ideas. Check us out at mograph.com. Mograph.com/live. You can get information about the show and the upcoming shows. We're keeping that a little light right now because we have a lot of weird scheduling things going on. Next week, Colin Likes will be on.
Yes.
And the week after that, we will be in Vegas.
I'm actually surprised we're doing a show next week because literally we leave the next day for Vegas.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, you know.
Hopefully it'll be a good, relaxing show.
Yeah.
Colin's a great guest, so
Yeah.
I think she will be.
Yeah, we'll keep it light, because we'll be getting ready to get out of town. And so there's that. So there will not be a podcast on the week of NAB. We'll have a wrap up
17th
when we get back. Yeah. We'll have a wrap up that Monday. Now, a couple other things going on. Let's talk about Vegas first.
Yes.
So there is mographmeetup.com
Yes.
And you can check out the event there by School of Motion, sponsored by many, many, many people, including ourselves. And that will take you to the Eventbrite, so you can snag a ticket for that. That is on Sunday. What day is that?
Sunday, I want to say 16th.
I wanted to say
the 16th.
16th
yes.
as well. In fact, if you want to know how to get that, you can go to mographevents.com. I have put in just a really quick landing page that you can check out there for upcoming events. It's kind of a temporary placeholder right now. I know I think we told everybody we're doing some upgrades to the website soon, so we kind of have it on a lock right now. So we've just put up this temporary landing page, which is this right here. No, it's not.
Oh boy, that's the wrong one.
It's Dave's plate.
It just decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to show this page instead.
Oh, wow, it's going.
Yeah, you can
there,
see all my
fun.
fun info. I'll figure out which display it thinks that it should be today. There's the bat signal.
No, yeah, that's
display 4. One of these will come up. I usually check this before the show because it's super
there
temperamental.
you go.
There it
well
is.
Done, sir.
Yeah, now it's screen 5. My main display is screen 5 all of a sudden because reasons,
right.
you know. All right, so Mograph Meetup Vegas, that'll take you there so you can get those tickets to the School of Motion party. And then you got the other one here, the karaoke Vegas. Unfortunately, we're not doing limos this year. It's on a different day.
No.
It is not after the pinball party, so make sure that you plan accordingly. You're going to have to get there on your own.
Make sure if you're coming, you have to have a ticket.
You have to have
just
a ticket.
make sure, and tickets are pretty limited, because we're basically renting out the entire place. So and they have a capacity limit. So
they do, and I'll look up and see how many we have left. The thing about this though is, like, if for some reason you can't get a ticket or something, I think we'll be okay because people are going to kind of filter in and out throughout the night. That is going to be from 9 until 12 on Monday.
Yep.
And yes, and what's great about that is we'll be able to hang out and not be like too exhausted from the pinball party ending at 10 o'clock.
I'm very excited for it. My Monday nights. Yeah. Especially with us. I mean, we're getting there. We're going to be there for what, 11 days? I think it is.
Wow.
Something like
That's
that.
a lot of Vegas.
It's a lot of it. It's too much Vegas, and like Vegas just beats you down. So I'm excited for the fact that we can, at least have one staying up till midnight, one relatively chill night,
Yeah.
Not making it a 4 a.m. night like we did last year.
Maria's
4 a.m.
coming.
nights are the best nights.
I saw Maria got her ticket yesterday.
Yeah.
And
Maria, we're gonna have to do. We'll have to do that.
We have already sold 61 out of 80 tickets, so
cool.
Make sure that you check that out. So mographevents.com. It's got the link to both of those. If you want to get the School of Motion, it is mographmeetup.com. So there's that. I believe if you want to get into the Maxon Pinball Party, you need to come and get a wristband at the Maxon booth. That's how they usually do it. Yes. I don't know if anything else has changed on that. I believe that's pretty much it for the events at NAB. If you are looking to maybe contact some of the other people who are coming to attend and hang out and things, if you go to our Slack channel, to the NAB channel, you'll be able to talk to everybody and get more info there. So we'll be talking in there. If we just randomly decide, hey, we're going to go to, Casino Royale night or whatever, it's just a great place to catch up and make sure
sometimes
that, you see what's going on.
What we did last year, and I think it worked out really well, was, Maxon treats some of us to Topgolf. I don't know if they're doing Topgolf, but then we all ended up meeting up somewhere afterwards on Wednesday night, which was a lot of fun, So we, that was a night that we, and then also Saturday night. Saturday night was so much fun with the ponies. I'm hoping we can do the ponies again.
Is the ponies,
we need to do the ponies
tradition?
Again.
You were
we
there,
need
Chris,
to make it.
right? The little toy ponies.
Yeah, you
races?
won like $250 or something on the ponies. Don't you remember?
Oh, those ponies. I thought you meant like a petting zoo. I was like, I have no recollection of actual ponies. Yeah, the mechanical horses.
Yeah, the mechanical horses. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, me and EJ both hit on the same one there, and then we were riding that money for the rest of the trip. That was a good time.
Ponies and ducks. Ponies and ducks.
Ponies and ducks.
Yeah,
right?
well, the duck machine was broken. I spent the entire time trying to get any ducks, and it was painful.
we're gonna have to revisit that this year. You know.
Yep.
All right, so that is NAB. Let's talk about other events now. The week after that, Friday, so the 28th. So the 21st is the Friday after NAB. The 28th after that, that will be DAT Tour, our first one in Dallas.
Is it redundant to say DAT Tour? Since it's the Design and Animation Tour.
Let's not get too picky about it.
All right.
Are you going to go to DAT? Yeah. So we will have not a lot of time in between NAB and that event. So we're working hard. There's only 3 weeks until that event.
Yes.
So if you are somebody who is in Dallas, please come. We are a little bit behind on putting out a website and things for this. So right. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay. Never mind. I was going to say sign up at DFWC4D, but we don't have that up right now.
Oh, we don't? I probably...
No, it says it's parked free of courtesy of GoDaddy.com.
Yeah, I think I might have taken down our Squarespace page after these years. It's just in... It's there, but it's not. So we will send something out to those people.
Sign up at go to Mograph.com and sign up for our newsletter. We will send one out.
We're gonna send one out
as soon as we have the dates for that,
right?
Or as soon as we've got tickets for it.
We'll also put it on the MographEvents.com page as soon as I have information, and also the website. Now, don't get confused here. When I say go to dat.com, I mean literally GOTODAT.com. Go to dat.com.
It's not up yet.
If you go to GoToDat.com, there is a placeholder page that doesn't link it to anything yet.
Right.
So we will be linking to the ticketing on that. I'm waiting to get the ticketing information from Maxon so that you can reserve your ticket to Dallas. We've got 3 weeks. So anybody in Dallas, please tell your friends, bring your friends. We really are trying to get people in the seats. This is going to be our kind of early first run through. It's almost a rehearsal. So come help with this rehearsal.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have that vibe. You get to see us figure it all out.
Yeah.
Who all's going to be there, Dave?
Oh, as far as panelists, well, let's talk about the lineup first because we've got
talk about the lineup.
EJ and Chris. Now, Winbush, I don't know if Winbush is at every event. I'm not sure if he's in Dallas yet. I'm waiting to find out. But in the morning event, it's all about Maxon tools, Cinema 4D.
That is the create part.
That's the create part. And then in the afternoon, we got the panel, and the panel is going to be different local speakers. Okay, so in Dallas, we're going to have Barton Damer. We're going to have Ryan Talbot. We're going to have Sasha Vinogradova.
Yep.
Who else is here? We're going to have Mark Fancher. Travis Ragsdale.
Did you get a hold of him? Did he respond?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And and Rev, because Rev is going to come to Dallas.
Yeah.
So Rev is going to be on the panel as well. So most of the audience will be on stage.
Most of the audience.
So we'll do what we can. So we really need your help to come out to Dallas. If you want to come hang out with us in Dallas, come on out. This is going to be our first run through. We're really going to get this going. We have a kind of a thing we're working on for the end of the year for the very last one. That's going to be a huge blowout. So I'm really excited about that. More details on that later.
We're hitting up a total of like 17 cities across the U.S., Canada, and Europe. So it could be coming to a city near you. Make sure. And
Austin peeps too. Please come up. Andrew K.
Houston
here,
peeps.
and Houston peeps.
Ooh, speaking of, I should hit up my buddy from Houston.
Chris, what are you going to talk about? What's your deal?
We're still hammering it all together. We got to figure out all the details. The idea is going to be that EJ, Winbush, and I are all going to be passing off different project files, trying to do like a big giant workflow. We're still figuring it out. In fact, we're scheduling a call right now to like really figure out the final details. But it's gonna EJ's gonna be focusing on a little bit of cute character stuff, and I'm going to be focused on like procedural workflows and a lot of stuff involving like bringing nodes directly into the object manager and some of the capsules that Rocket Lasso has been building. And I'm going to be building out an environment, and then in theory, Windbush is going to be taking a lot of that stuff, bringing it into Unreal, and in real time being able to like walk around those places as environments and do even more. So I can't get too specific because we're still hammering out details, but that's the general plan for the meat of our section.
That's awesome.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, and the panels, we're going to focus on a few different things. I mean, y'all are doing like the technical stuff. We're going to get into, issues that we face as designers and things during the panel. Chris, I imagine you and EJ and Matthias will be up there too, and we'll chat. That's going to be the podcast. So
that will also be our podcast.
That will be our podcast for the week. So we'll get a little day off. Yeah. So, and then we're going to have a celebrate portion of the event at the end. That's what we're going to do about 5 o'clock. We all go to the lobby. We do maybe some prize giveaways and things, and have some drinks and some snacks, and that's it. So come join us, and we'll have more info on that soon. So just keep checking. Just keep checking those links.
Yep. And everybody should make a real effort to come out. I did this right before the pandemic. We did a bunch of this all over the world, and it was super fun. Got to meet so many people. Like, every city was so unique. And I've never been to Texas before, so that's exciting for me as well.
You haven't?
Nope.
Wow.
Ooh.
Really?
I changed planes one time, and that's the extent of it.
Oh, dang, dude. We're going to have to hang.
Yeah.
Have to barbecue.
Oh, boy.
Man. Oh, boy.
I can heat the pool. I did it this weekend. I got it up to 90 degrees. It was awesome.
Jeez.
Dude, it was like so nice.
Your electric bill.
Boil everybody.
No, it's gas heated. So
your gas bill.
The gas bill.
My gas bill will be very high. Yeah.
Wow.
Normally, whenever I do that, it's about $100. But like I said, you're gonna spend $100 on a weekend anyway. Might as well have a good time, right?
Yeah. And then Camp Mograph tickets are going to be going on sale.
Yes.
Very
important.
After.
Camp Mograph tickets are going on sale April 20th at noon Eastern time. So make sure. Here's the thing: if you go to the Camp Mograph website, sorry, the ticketing site. I'm still trying to figure this out, because the thing is, it's going to go on sale at noon Eastern. That's what we've been saying. But because of it's on Eventbrite, they're marking it down as 10 Mountain Time, or whatever. 12, 11,
okay.
12. Yeah.
What's
10.
the difference?
There's no difference. It's just I don't want everyone to they need to know it's in Mountain Time, because I don't think they specifically state it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
because it's set to Denver time. That's why.
It's set to Denver time. Yeah, it says on sale April 20th at 10 a.m. It doesn't say Mountain Standard Time. So just be aware.
Gotcha.
If you're trying to get it at 10 a.m. Eastern time, it's not going to work. You're going to have to wait.
Right.
And those tickets go insanely fast, right?
They will go in about a minute. Now, because we're using Eventbrite, what happens is sometimes their system gets bogged up and stuff. So just keep refreshing for about because we've got it set up to where I think if you don't check out within 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something, it goes back into the pot, So I know several people have gotten tickets by just refreshing over and over and over again, So
yeah, it's
and an important thing to note on that as well is, we are doing the private cabins as well. We've got 2 separate private cabins. We've got the bungalows and we've got the cottages. If you have a preference, if you're getting one of those, make sure and mark it down. Otherwise, we're just going to randomly assign one. And it's kind of first come, first serve. So we will do our best to accommodate, but we can't guarantee. We just figured it was this way instead of it was better this way instead of having people jump all around trying to figure out which one they can and can't get.
Right.
Instead of having 3 different tickets, we've got 2 different tickets.
Because you're in a hurry trying to get your ticket. And
exactly. And this happened last year where someone was like, "Oh, I'm going to get a private one. Oh, that's sold out. Okay, I'm going to go get a community cabin." And it's like, "Oh, no, that one's sold out too." Blah, blah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we'll keep people updated too, because sometimes tickets come back. Sometimes people either cancel a ticket or they can't go, or we're looking through our notes and realize we have one extra cabin here we can give away, and so
there will be a wait list.
There'll be a wait list, and so we'll try our best. We apologize in advance to any of our friends who don't get a ticket. We try.
Yes.
We try.
Yes.
You have too many friends and not enough cabins.
Right.
Well, we always say we could fill up camp without putting anything public on sale, because we have a lot of Mograph friends, and we could make it a private event, but we want other people to have the opportunity,
I mean, also, we could jam-pack the place full of like 400 people, but we don't want to do that.
That's the thing.
We don't want anyone to have to choose or not be able to choose whether or not they want a top or bottom bunk.
Right.
So,
all right. Do we want to do any sponsors for that today? Do you have your materials? We should probably do that, and then we're going to talk about Cinema 4D.
What?
I said, and then we're going to talk about Cinema 4D.
Yeah. So as far as Camp Mograph goes, big shout out to our sponsors this year. First up, we've got Otoy, our global sponsor. Otoy is presenting Camp Mograph again this year. We are so excited to have them on board. Then our two village sponsors, we've got Maxon and we've got Spilt, which is super excited to have a new like a studio on board, a new one, a new sponsor. And then our gold sponsor is Grayscale Gorilla. So big shout out to all of our sponsors. Make sure and give them some love. Tell them thank you for sponsoring Camp Mograph and bringing the price of tickets down.
Does Ryan Summers work for Spilt?
I have no idea.
Is that where he is now?
I don't know.
Oh, I was just curious if he's coming. Didn't he move to Colorado? Or he works for a company in Colorado. Everybody's moving to Colorado,
Right? Oh, yeah. He's a creative director over at Spilt. That's funny.
All right. Well, maybe he'll be there.
There you go. All right. Yeah, maybe.
Cool.
Yeah, he's in Denver, Colorado. Who knew?
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to have to hang out. So there is also going to be a DAT event in Colorado. In Denver.
Yeah.
That one, I believe it's the 11th. We don't have that.
Tentatively, I believe, is the 11th, yes.
Yeah, that date isn't locked
I'll
in
give
yet.
two tentative dates that we know.
Oh, you have another one.
Yeah, well, Philadelphia, Philly is going to be the 16th.
Philly or Pittsburgh?
I don't know. Philly, I think. Is there a difference? I don't know.
Yeah. So we're still working on getting those cities and dates for you.
You got those cities yet?
You got those?
Well, we got another one of those pretty locked in. Another one for DAT Tour is going to be on September 8th. Which
is that one?
Oh, that's right.
Special one.
Oh,
good segue.
Yeah, that's a special one in Chicago, because that saved the date for everybody out there is going to be the 10th half-res ever. So same day, planning them together. So for anybody who wants to come out and visit Chicago, it's going to be a great time, because you get to see the tour, and then the celebrate part's going to be huge, because we're going to end up doing like a 6-hour party afterward with all the motion graphics people in Chicago. So it's a huge event every year, and we're trying to make this the biggest one ever, just because it's the 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
This one will be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrate is half-res.
Yeah.
So,
Celebrate is
exactly.
half-res. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's going to be great.
All right. Let's talk about... Actually, before we get into the updates to Cinema 4D, Chris, you have been busy with plugins. I'm sure that there are some new plugins since the last time you've been on, but I don't really know which ones we were talking about last time. So what is the latest in your plugins moving backwards? What's the newest one?
The newest one we launched a couple months ago at this point is the utility splines. So the collection of 5 different spline utilities that can do a whole bunch of things like resample your splines and convert things back to Bezier. My favorite one is the smooth spline, which just adds some nice smooth curvature to it. What else did it have? The resample and the cleanup. So a lot of power inside those utility splines. We worked on them for a really long time. It took a long time to get them out the door, but I'm so glad they're out there. They're combining really well with the built-in cinema stuff, and they actually combine really well with a lot of the capsules that Rocket Lasso's been developing for Maxon. So
that's
great
awesome.
combo there.
Nice. What was before that? What was before that one?
Oh, what was the one before that? Because we kind of rapid fire. Yeah, we had Ricochet and we had Slicer, and I can never remember which one came out first, because they were somewhat close together. But I love both of those. Ricochet being basic idea being you're just shooting a spline as like a laser, and it bounces off geometry.
Yeah.
But the most fun thing is to put it inside of a piece of geometry and let it bounce around and fill a volume. And that one, Ricochet has become so much more powerful when Cinema updated all of their simulation stuff, and now we've got those amazing rope simulations.
Oh yeah.
So you could just fill an object with Ricochet and then turn on rope simulations and get an object just instantly filled with lines of spaghetti.
Nice.
But Ricochet can also outline an object, like randomly wrap it around, so you can get this giant tangled mess. And then again, run rope simulation on there.
Yeah.
And then you put a model of Will Smith in there eating the spaghetti.
That would it was super fun. I love all those new tools that Cinema has. The simulation side of things has been like incredible, and because we focused on so many spline tools at Rocket Lasso, because Slicer combines really well with that. You can wrap objects up. We got Mesh the Spline, which came out around that time as well, for converting geometry into all different types of splines, like outlines and the edges and the individual polygons. So yeah, you combine all those tools and you get so much functionality.
Yeah, I bought Slicer a month or two ago because I was working on this project, and it had kind of it was like a weird piece of geo, just kind of in the foreground, kind of like a crystal tree type thing. Yeah. And I was like, I just wanted to have those almost topographical slices. And I'm like, oh, I know how I can do that. I see the commercial on Mograph TV every day.
Right.
So I used that. It was great. It worked exactly how I wanted it to. Put a little cold glass crystal texture on it, and it looked awesome. And then the client changed the concept completely. So, but it looked good.
Though, yeah. Well, one of my favorite things about both Ricochet and Slicer is that it ties in really well with Mograph tools, where you can take a matrix object and set that as the origin. So it's trivial to Ricochet, it shoots out one laser and bounces around, but you can say, hey, link that to a matrix object, and now Z plus on any matrix clone is going to become a new origin point. So you can suddenly fire 100 lasers in all directions.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
That's
and same
nice.
with slices, you can animate them via Mograph tools just using the matrix object.
That's cool.
Let's see. Well, I don't know if you have anything to tease yet. Do you have anything else you want to tease, or is it all secrets right now? It's okay if it's all secrets.
Yeah, it's all secret. I mean, I'll say we just launched the beta for our next tool, so that's been
cool.
In our private beta for a couple of weeks now. So getting feedback, seeing how people use it, so we can update it, and that means at the same time we started working on the next tool that comes after that, which is going to be it's an exciting one. There's a lot of potential for that one to, what can I say? Well, that one's going to be more like a suite of tools. We haven't exactly decided how it's all going to be distributed and how they combine, but it's an exciting concept. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Hey, fellas, I'm a C4D user, always have been. I've been looking at Blender's advancements lately. When do you guys think, if at all, Blender will be standard?
Yeah, that's hard to say standard. I mean, you got Maya, Max, all these other tools out there. None of them are standard, I guess. Yeah. It's just whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, and honestly, in all honesty, I've been doing a 4-month project with this company, and we've got C4D users, we've got Maya users, we've got Blender users, we've got people who switch over from Blender to Maya, and we've got 3ds Max users,
Right.
And it's some studios don't care, they only care about the final product, and so honestly, if you're a Blender user, cool, use Blender. There are great things within every single DCC. I'll say that,
right.
I think C4D's Mograph tools are unmatched from anyone else, and that's the reason why I use C4D. That, and I'm really close with Paul Babb. We're tight. So
I'm very comfortable in Cinema. I will say you have been ranting, Matt, for quite a while that there needs to be a viewport compositor in Cinema 4D.
Yep.
And
then Blender announced that last week or whatever.
Yeah, it's looking pretty killer.
I've been saying I want Cinema 2D.
Right.
Cinema 2D. That's all I want.
Or would it be 3D? Because
right, because you go down one, right?
Right.
No, I do. I want I want it in the frontal projection or whatever, only that way. And I'm sure there's a way to do it, I
mean, you could do your own, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So,
Brad, we love you too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like all of them are great. I know Maya just came out with a ton of really awesome new modeling tools and stuff like that. Really good stuff, you know. Then you've got Blender, and then everyone's taking it and putting it into Unreal anyway. So why does it even matter? Right.
And that's the thing with C4D. Brad said, grease pencil. That's an example too.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing. There's a lot of great stuff coming out, especially with this new update to Cinema. And for me, I keep seeing things in Blender that look cool, but there still isn't anything to make me switch because, again, I'm comfortable with this. I know the shortcuts. Everything works for me. There's no, killer thing in Blender to make me go, sideways and switch. Right. If I were a new user, well, obviously that would be a different story, right? If I already didn't know any 3D package, but it's about knowing the concepts. It's about knowing, things like keyframing, lighting, rendering, file management, shot composition. It doesn't matter what you're using. It can be Unreal, Cinema 4D. It doesn't matter what it is.
A lot of all the concepts, or a good majority of the concepts, can move between DCC. Right. They're just called something different.
Right. So it's not that I'm not in Blender because I don't think it's a good software. It's just for me, there's no reason. The same thing with Unreal. But that could be different for other people, It very well could, And, your Unreal stuff could change, Right. If a client comes and says, hey, I got this much money, will you do this Unreal project? Or I need this in Unreal. And be like, all right, I'll learn Unreal, Yeah. And the one thing I do here, Claudio switched from C4D to Blender, and he said it really doesn't matter. What matters is the result. And Brad is talking about Blender's UI. And I know some people have said that if you're going to get into Blender, you need to check out the, what is it called? There's a version of the layout. It's like the industry standard layout or something that they have for it or something.
I think the industry standard layout is weird. I don't the industry standard mouse controls. That's the only thing I suggest. Because every UI is going to be different. For example, Maya, I think Maya's UI is stupid because you've got all the primitives and everything laid out. So versus C4D, you just do you hold it down and it gives you the drop down. It's a much cleaner. It's similar to the way Houdini does it, where you've got all the primitives there. It's you don't need all that stuff up there.
Right.
It's funny. So I was chatting with one of the guys that I'm on this project with, and he was like, yeah. So my professor, when I started in Maya, he said, turn all this stuff off. Just hide it all. Because it doesn't matter. You can do everything through the commands or whatever, the file, whatever. You don't need all that stuff there because it's just taking up real estate that you don't need to show it. So every UI is going to be different. The industry standard, I would say, with the mouse controls. You do that.
Yeah, your discipline super matters for that as well. Back in the day when I was doing Animation Mentor. They were using Maya at the time. I think they still are, but I remember in one of the early classes, the teacher was like, listen, you only need to know 11 buttons in Maya. So don't worry about all that other stuff. You need 11 buttons, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably most of it is the shift click or control click, alt click, whichever one it is that brings up your little circular thing that then allows
button.
You to whatever.
But let's talk about Cinema 4D 2023.2.
Yeah.
Because there's some great updates that just came out last week. And Chris, you put out a 2-hour video on these.
I watched it, yeah.
Did you?
2-hour video.
I did.
The whole thing.
As soon as I saw it hit, I just threw it on and I just continued working. So It was like I was watching Mograph TV.
Yeah. It's a great version. I mean, it's always important to remember that because I think it's mostly because of, I don't know the specifics, but because Maxon mostly went subscription with things, that's enabled them to release point updates more often.
Yeah.
So
it's nice.
So this is the second update to 2023, and the updates have been very sizable. We've gotten a lot more content than we would have gotten normally in a 2-release cycle, which is what they had been sort of focused on for a while. So And it did go to, I went to sit down. I was like, oh, like, hey, I think this is going to be a relatively straightforward video to make. And then once I started putting all the clips and editing them, I was like, oh my God, this is 2 hours long. We're usually the big update has always been like the even number. So like a 2023 even is going to be like, oh, that's got the big stuff. Right. But it was like, I think this was the longest video of the 3. So yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of cool features added in, just workflow wise. I feel like there's a little something for everybody where as a workflow tool, the Commander got completely redesigned. And we even went to, I never used the Commander. I just knew where the buttons were. As somebody who's primarily like focused on doing things like tutorials and live streams, I've always felt it's more visual to click in the menu and say, here's that thing. Now you know where it is. Because if you're constantly just hitting Shift-C and then typing something in, it's almost like invisible to the user.
That's all I do. That's all I do all day. I don't know where anything is.
As a production workflow, it's like it's so good. But one of the big things that they did was they added in all these different tabs. So you can now, instead of just searching essentially cinema commands, you can now be searching objects and materials and textures and HDRs,
tags,
and capsules, tags. So pretty much everything is in there. You can even turn on to see presets, and presets have gotten even more powerful, where they're now implemented directly into all of the capsules that you can drag in. So being able to build a preset, name it however you want, and then when you search, you could be like, oh, bring in a cloner, but you put a special word on it. I could say cloner Chris, and it's my favorite default, and it'll just automatically come in without any click. So like almost like first order retrieval. So like that bit so good. The Commander, very, very powerful. It does more than that. Then huge updates to the symmetry tool. Largely, they took all the functionality from the symmetry hub. So like when you were just doing any kind of normal cinema modeling, you could have symmetry turned on. But now we have the parametric version of symmetry. But in it becoming like an object in the object manager, it's got the ability to like automatically slice the object wherever it's crossing the plane and then mirror that. But that automatically opens up so many like motion graphics opportunities where you can mirror it on multiple planes and just get kaleidoscope effects.
Some of that fun Doctor Strange stuff going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the video ends up being so long. It's like, okay, like I'm gonna get to focus on a couple of these big features. Like, okay, symmetry, that's just the symmetry hub moved into this object. It's not going to take too long. And it's like, oh, wait, this is actually a huge deal. Like, this is going to change a lot of, like, Mograph workflows. And just the basics of the way you model. So, like, it was like, okay, that's going to take a giant chunk of time. And then staying in the world of modeling, they added in the brand new thicken object.
Yes, so great.
I would like to say I'm very mad about that because I have been like working for like 2 weeks straight on a project where I'm doing like mosaic tiles, and instead, so what I'm doing is basically throwing stuff into a fracture, and then having to extrude, the plane. And so like, it's so much. And then literally I get the job done, send it off to render, and you're like, hey, look, we've got thicken now. Like, oh.
Now I always used either I would do a cloth thickness tag, or what actually worked better for me most of the time was to put the explosion FX, whatever it's called, and put it on 0% time. And just give it. That was always my go-to. So this is great, and the fact that like you can assign it to selection tags and things as well.
Well, I'm curious if, and I haven't messed with this. I put this in your chat, but I don't think you ever got to it. When you were doing your thing with Rick. I wasn't sure. I didn't watch the whole thing. I went off and did my own thing. But if you take something in a fracture, so if you take like a plane, put it in a fracture, do a plane effector to where it makes them just a little bit smaller, right? And then if you were to use a extrude, what was this? It would have some weirdness whenever you would do like rounded corners, a rounded corner node in Redshift. Like it would see all these additional like, it was when you put in a fracture, do a plane effector to make it smaller, and then throw it in a subdivision surface, right? And then you use a extrude. If you put a like a curvature node or like a rounded corner node on it, it would like create some weirdness. And so I'm curious if the thick, I haven't updated because I got all these projects I'm working
20
on.
deformers on this and it's not working right. What's the problem?
No. Well, come on, that's normal workflow. It's all parametric.
For anybody listening, and I think it was even my intuition a little bit when I was like learning the new features so I could try and make a video. And I've even seen comments of people being like, "Oh, well, thicken. Why do we need thicken? We've got the cloth generator. So why do we need that?" It is huge. Like it creates so many new amazing modeling opportunities and parametric workflows that you couldn't even imagine. Where most people probably know, if you even if you just throw a simple subdivided cube inside of a cloth, you can get some weird curvature on the edges because it's designed for cloth. So it's expecting it to be smooth and curved. But this you can almost feed in any wacky geometry, and it is very, very. What's even the word? Like perfectly figuring out the way the edges should be clamped and cut and moved. Everything's like got a perfect uniform thickness. You can control how thick it's supposed to be based on vertex maps. Like you said, you can use a selection tag and limit it to certain areas. But it even I demo it in my
inward
video
as well as outward, and you can adjust that, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
You could make some text, make an instance of that text, put the instance into a thicken, push that outside of the object, and have like an actual like enamel shell on there, not like a faked one, but like, hey, here's some actual real thickness on there. But even goes to the point that maybe I'm going to be the only person in the world whose mind is blown by this, but bevels, bevels are tricky. Like they got massively improved a couple of years ago in cinema, but you could still get some weird bevels on text. So now you go and you create some text, you put a bevel on there, the bevel looks good, and now I put like a thicken on there and I say make it smaller. So you've got like a 3 corners meeting, 3 polygons meeting in a corner, and you start beveling, you've got a bevel, and as the thicken goes in, it's perfectly erasing out the bevel as it gets smaller. Like beautiful. Like it just does it perfectly, and I don't even know how it's doing it. As soon as you switch it from there's basic mode and advanced, and just for clarity, the basic mode is behaving a lot like cloth. It's like, okay, here's kind of an instant, very fast algorithm. Obviously, there's a lot more mathematical like trickery and algorithms going on in the advanced mode, so it's going to be a little bit slower, but it just is instantly working so intuitively to what you'd be expecting it to do that it's huge. Like I thought it'd be a simple one. It's huge. Yeah,
I back in the day used to do a lot of product packaging just like they have in this demo here, and this would have been great for that. Or when you have something and you need you want to, it could be text or something like this, the product box or something. You need a window on it, or you need something to be like a little bit plasticky, but you can't use just a single plane because that's really not going to give you that look. You can't really put any real refraction in it. Yeah. That's what's cool about that. I love that. Gosh, there's a huge list of things. If you go to their website, one of the things
to Pyro too.
Yeah, one of the things I had on there was a Pyro. The Pyro, a lot of it is in the viewport, right?
Some of it.
Some of it's in the viewport. Some of the changes.
You can now light it in the viewport and get the lighting back from it. And what's crazy is like effectively, there's only 2 changes that, as far as I care, there's only 2 changes that matter. They added in the ability for Pyro to see Cinema 4D noises, which actually was really important. Like it creates so many amazing new effects. Actually, we got to demo that a lot better during my live stream rather than in my video, where it's like, the Cinema 4D noise types, like dramatically, they make it a lot more into like a motion graphics tool. And along those lines, the other thing that they added was the ability to create the smoke, colorize the smoke, the density, using a vertex map, but you can feed in a color vertex map. So different parts of your model can be outputting different colors. You can get different color smoke either over time or in different parts of the model. And that file that you've got up on the screen now is like an amazing demo file for showing off like the noise types. But yeah, the vertex map workflow is becoming so powerful in cinema. For anybody who doesn't use fields in cinema, like you should really start like using them a little bit, because it's becoming so important and so powerful. In a lot of ways, I feel like it doubled the power of Mograph. And now the ability to feed fields into selection tags, into vertex maps, into color vertex maps. really is changing the way you can render things out, drive different parameters, create different colors on things, render things out with different colors inside of your material. Like it's incredible.
So this noise that's going through it, is this adding noise? Like, is it 3D noise within the smoke, or is this a texture thing? What is the noise doing?
Everything that's like all the movement you're seeing there is simply like turbulences and the advection and like the heat and everything pushing it around, like lots of pressure forces. The noise is all about where it's allowed to generate to begin with. So I don't think you'd even be seeing the effect too much right there. It's more the way I was doing it was just like rendering out a volume, like a smoky volume of text, and like different parts of it are kind of sending out puffs of smoke at different times thanks to the vertex map, or changing colors over time, and entirely dependent on the noise that you're feeding in. So you could have animated noises and all sorts of crazy effects. Where it's, if you have the smoke generate but very quickly fade away over the course of a couple frames, you could get like a smoky pattern filling up a volume that's purely like a way of rendering out a noise. So pretty powerful along those lines. But that's what is always so amazing about probably 3D in general, but in Cinema 4D, everything multiplies and combines with everything else. So those two settings have created so many new opportunities just within Pyro for making it a more powerful motion graphics tool. It's it was a simulation of smoke and fire, but now it's like, now it's smoke and fire in the style of Cinema 4D, where you can artistically control it. It's similar to the simulation stuff in the 0.1 version, when they added in pins and forces to all the cloth stuff, where I've said that simulations are cool, but just a simulation is a simulation. Once you can control where it's supposed to be, now it's a motion graphics tool.
You want to art direct it. That's what it is. And a lot of this stuff, too, I wouldn't even realize sometimes that it's so comprehensive until I find a use for it. Like, I might read it. Oh, that's cool. It has this, this, and this now. But then I'll be working on a project, and I'm like, well, can I add this field to this and then do this thing and then put it as a child of this thing? And it works. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And whenever it doesn't work, you make it a child of a connect object, and now it works.
Yeah, put it in a connect object,
It never seems to work for me.
Oh, really?
I guess my stuff is way too complicated, or I'm doing it all wrong.
Like, I've been putting it in metaballs this whole time. No wonder. Metaballs. So there's also there's two more sections, I guess you could say, of this, which is simulation and scene manager stuff. Let's talk about simulation first, because I have a lot of questions about scene manager, because that's what I know the least about. Simulation, there's additions to cloth rope and dynamics. And maybe, again, you can help explain this to me, because I don't know enough about it yet. But this is talking about, like, combining simulations, is that right? Or
I am honestly
read
not
something
sure what you're
about.
talking about here.
I wish I could remember what I was reading earlier today. But it has to
do
with the unified simulation system.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it's about the unified simulation system where like the ropes and the colliders and all the cloth stuff is unified. It's all using the same underlying math. As far as I know, the only significant thing added to simulation, which is really cool, was the ability to control the ballooning effect with a vertex map, which is pretty huge.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's like, here's just one little setting inside of here. It's like, look at all of these really cool effects that you can make now for different parts of it inflating. Because essentially before, you can say, yes, inflate the object. Like, you can overpressure it or deflate it, which is really cool and powerful. But now you can say, where is it inflating? So, it's now turned into a motion graphics tool.
But that can simultaneously work with Pyro at the same time. So you can...
Yeah.
That's what they're advertising here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Pyro
it's like, maybe that's what I
thing.
was thinking of.
Yeah. Or, smoke. You can drop a piece of cloth through the smoke, and it'll push the smoke away. Or if you're properly feeding the Pyro stuff into a field force, that can be creating like advection effects that will blow the cloth up out of the way now. Wow. So even Pyro is part of that same simulation system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's and the fact that and I think this was in the version before, but the GPU the ability to use GPU to run these simulations. I haven't really played with the difference between the two. Do you know like what the speed difference is between those? Have you tried?
Lot.
I'm sure it's a lot.
It's going to be probably completely dependent on your hardware because I'm actually looking to upgrade my machine soon, but I've got two 1080s on here, which is it was great a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But now essentially my CPU and my GPU when it comes to simulations are fairly similar. Like I don't get too much of a difference between the two. But if you have like super high end video cards, I imagine that that's going to be crazy fast.
Well, GPU for smoke and flames is definitely a lot better on GPU. But that goes back to even doing, TFD and everything else. It's always going to be faster if you have something like a 3090 or whatever. I don't know if they've added this, but one thing that I would love to have is the ability to either combine or pick which GPU you want to use. Last I remember, you couldn't pick the GPU, and that could be an issue, like if you're running like a whole bunch of monitors or streaming or whatever you're doing, and you want to pick the one that's not being used to run the sim.
Yeah,
that's a small
thing. You might
thing,
be right, because Redshift you can choose which GPU.
Redshift you can choose, yeah.
But I don't recall a setting for simulation. Yeah.
Now, Scene Manager and Scene Nodes, this is something that this is what I'm the least familiar with, because
probably most people.
Yeah, and I know you've been digging into it a lot, and I don't know if maybe you could help explain to people who haven't used it, like, what are some good use cases for this? Because I don't know it well enough to even be able to start using it. Like, how would I know if I need this? Like, if I really need to use this or not?
It's a fairly complicated question, but the simple audio version of this is, it's the nodes inside a cinema. It's like, you can think of it out of the box like Espresso, except with a heavy focus on, let's say, modeling tools. In Espresso, you can't do any modeling effectively.
Right.
You can't really even make new objects. It's like Espresso. It's like, we can modify parameters. That's about it. When it comes to scene nodes, you could change virtually everything. So there's two main ways of interacting with nodes in cinema right now. Kind of the old way is you go into the scene manager and you are using nodes within that. And it's kind of like, okay, here's like a separate world where it's like you're doing whatever you want with nodes. And at the end, it's going to output the final, but it can't really be interacted with except in the world of nodes. But where it's actually become super powerful and super useful, and I've been trying to push these like a bunch for years now, is you can make capsules. And the idea of capsules is it's almost like building a little mini plugin for yourself inside the object manager. So right now you can make the obvious ones to make would be you can make yourself a new spline primitive or a new geometry primitive or geometry modifiers, essentially a deformer. So you can drag in an empty version of those. You can drag in essentially, here's an empty object and it won't return anything. And inside the nodes, it's like, well, the only thing it wants to output is some geometry. So you're like, okay, cool. Let me build that geometry. And it's like, oh, I want to build, or you can want to make a deformer. So you can build a new deformer that you can now drop onto any object and do that deformation. So that workflow has been improving and improving and improving over time. And a lot of the update here, and it's across the board, but Rocket Lasso has been consulting with Maxon because we've been building the capsules out, and we'll get into some of those in a bit. But we've been, working with their tools and giving recommendations and what we would like to see and the workflows that we've been kind of stumbling over. So there's a huge update like across the board. A giant chunk of my video is covering this, trying to make it like Espresso. Like if you first jump into Espresso, a lot of people are going to be intimidated. There's a lot of nodes, what they do. Well, it's even more so in nodes as a general rule, because there's just more you can do with it, where you're getting down to the baseline of like manually typing in vectors, positional information for making a new spline. and then you feed that into a spline assembler, and then you feed that out to the spline interpolation, and then you feed that out as your actual final geometry. So it's like you can get really nitty gritty. So they made a lot of changes to make that more intuitive and easier to, at a glance, see what you're working with, where the nodes have been getting colorized based on what category they're in. Each of the nodes, Espresso, it has an input, it has an output. Well, in these scene nodes now, there'll be different colors depending on if it's outputting a float or an int or a bool or a vector. It'll be telling you if it's an array. It'll be telling you automatically what type of data is inside of the array. And all these are just like simple visual colors or tiny little icons. So you're getting instant feedback of what you're working on. Additional things like copying nodes while the wires stay connected and copying wires. Just a million little workflows that are improving how intuitive it is. Another big thing just for making it more usable for people. And I hope to make some tutorials starting to like actually build out tools where people can follow along and start making their own things.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of, I don't want to say redundancy, but there used to be, you could make a cube where it's like, okay, just give me give me the math that makes a cube. But it could also be a different node where it's like, well, give me a cube as Cinema would interpret a cube. So if you search for the word cube, it's like, well, there's two different cubes. I don't understand which one is which. Well, those got like merged into one object where you can change the mode that it's currently in.
Nice.
So
Okay.
you take that idea and kind of do it across the board where it looks like there's less, making it less intimidating, but all the power is still there. So just trying to clean it up, make it a little bit more intuitive for people to be able to jump in and make their own tools. So
yeah, that's the hard part for me sometimes, is realizing when I need something like that. There's a lot of cases in the past where it's like, well, I could just build this entire Espresso node to do this thing. However, after I'm done with this, I'm never going to use it again. Right?
True.
Right.
So I'll probably won't do that. Or Matt knows, like, there's a place we used to work where there are a lot of artists there, and sometimes they would just be trying to figure out how to do something with like simulations, like physics or whatever, to make a ball bounce a certain way or do whatever. And our art director would be like, why aren't you just putting that on a spline and setting 2 keyframes? Like, there's no reason to spend 12 hours doing this rig. We just got to get the thing out. So a lot of times I'm always in the moment working on something for a client or something. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time to figure that out right now. If I did, it would be great.
Yep.
But like, trying to figure out when is the moment that you need that. I can imagine that if you're working for somebody who needs maybe a lot of variations on something or something that you do repetitively, So this is the kind of thing for me that I'm trying to figure out, okay, when exactly do I switch to this? When do I say I need this workflow for something?
Yeah, it's got all the difficulties of Espresso in figuring that out. It's actually directly parallel, so most people are probably going to be at least a little bit familiar with Espresso.
Right.
So just imagine it that way. It's like, how often do you reach for Espresso? It's like, well, oftentimes you don't, because you can just do a couple of keyframes. But sometimes you need to build a rig where the client's going to change it, or know you're building a tool for a small team. So it's like, let's get everybody on the same page, and I'll have a uniform tool that everybody can actually go back to and have this rig. So it's exactly analogous, I think, to that, except you'll be thinking of it more like modeling type of techniques of like, oh, here's something I'm doing repeatedly. Here's so, and I mean, I imagine your average person making, your average person doing client work, maybe as a solo freelancer or something like that. You might not need to reach for this that often because you're not doing too many repetitive tasks. So when that's the case, then maybe you never have to do anything. At least right now, there's nothing you ever have to do specifically inside of nodes because, it would just take more time than it would be to use it straight out. If you were to build your own rig. Having said that, other people can be developing rigs and different tools so that everybody can get the benefit of it. And that kind of transitions us into the idea of the capsules as a general rule, and then specifically what Rocket Lasso has been doing, where the idea of a capsule is they've done tons of math, different algorithms and stuff that is really powerful, where it's like, okay, inside of scene nodes, you have a cube, and you're like, well, I want to randomly extrude, and then I want to do an inset, and then I want to delete that and then create a bevel. It's like, okay, well, those are all really great procedural things to be able to do. And then a couple versions ago, they added in the ability for you to take pretty much any modeling node and just drag it into the object manager And the terminology is supposed to be, you've now dragged a node. So like it's almost like Expresso, where it's like, oh, you can take this aspect of Expresso and you pull it into the object manager, and now it's there as an object. And that is now, you would, I think, technically call it like a geometry modifier capsule. But it's now a capsule. It's encapsulated that functionality, and it's now in the object manager. So in a lot of ways, you're getting all the power of the node stuff, but you could just do it as a hierarchy. You could be like, okay, create it with a node. You can be like, oh, randomly select some polygons, and now because of that random selection, extrude them all, and then inset them, and then bevel them, and then delete them, and all of that can just be in your object manager. Now you could have gone in and made a tool inside of capsules, or you could customize that capsule where all those functions are happening. Boom, 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 one after another in a line. And now instead of having 4 things in your object manager, you can have 1. And technically it'll run a little bit faster because it's all kind of in one package. It's not a huge speed difference, but that would be an optimization you could do. It's kind of like when I make some videos on this, probably that'll be a place I start, which is just like, hey, you can see how you're modeling and you're modifying your object in these ways. Well, stack them together now and make a singular tool that way. But then Rocket Lasso has, for the last couple of months, been working directly with Maxon, and we've been developing some more advanced capsules. These are almost full-on plugins at this point, where we're making like new primitive shapes, and we're making new like a new category of like spline modifiers, like spline deformers. So things like being able to very easily just offset the start and the end. Which is something that's always been a little bit tricky in cinema, but like we just built a capsule that does that for you. The ability to turn any spline into like a dashed line, and a bunch of different variations on the dashed line. The most recent one that just got released was electric, and
I think it looks cool.
I think it's the most fun one that we've made so far. I really like it. We're doing it's a concept. I'm sure it's existed somewhere, but we kind of stumbled across a technique that I thought was really, really powerful, where what we're doing is we're not sampling. What is it doing? We're subdividing a spline and applying noises to it, so you can get an electric spline. But everybody's probably done things like, you put a displacer into a spline and you put a noise, but that displacer, they're all going to be kind of uniform in a way. It's all moving on X, Y, and Z at the same time, so you kind of get this diagonal movement. So what we're doing, and it's also sampling the noise in space. But what we're doing instead is we are sampling the point index, which means if you move your spline around, the noise will move with it. And you just get a way more coherent noise pattern applied to it that can be moving around while you still see the coherence. And we're sampling X, Y, and Z completely separately. So you get just amazing coherence, all this really great displacement. We're calling it electric, and that's the default settings that are set on it. But you could do like these really amazing, like smooth, swirling scribble looks. You can put a different noise type in, like a cell noise, and you can get some very geometric lines jumping around. And it's plug and play. You just drop it as a child, and any spline, parametric spline, will instantly look like it's actually electricity. And there's a bunch of example files in there. I guess it's worth mentioning that Maxon, what's the right way of saying it? So they have their Cinema 4D subscription, and then they have Maxon One, which I think it's $10 or $20 more, and then you're getting like ZBrush, and you're getting like all of the other tools that they have. So like I think it's a great combination as a deal. But I've always been a person who's like, oh yeah, I'm totally willing to pay for the Adobe subscription because I'm getting access to a lot of different stuff. I'm using it often enough that's totally justified, and I always have what's up to date. I mean, I got plenty of problems with Adobe, but that's not one of them. So in order to essentially be able to have the resources to create these additional assets, these Rocket Lasso tools, a bunch of them are available if you have your Maxon, if you have a C4D subscription, and then some of them are if you have a Maxon 1 subscription, which means anybody listening, if you've got Maxon 1, you've already in your asset browser got all of these tools from Rocket Lasso. So these are bonuses that everybody has been getting access to if you have the asset browser. And the asset browser has been getting monthly updates of new materials, new HDRs, new textures being added in, just an entire suite of cool assets that are just kind of bonus on top of everything else when you have those subscriptions. It goes to anything in the vanilla cinema, that's everybody gets that. But then the asset browser has some bonus things if people have subscriptions. But I know a lot of people are not huge fans of that, but I've never had a problem with subscriptions personally.
Yeah.
That's me.
I think that that's a great way, like building these things, you can really get a great idea of the use case when you take a capsule or something and play around with it. I think me being more of a meddler than a inventor, like I want to take something like that and meddle with it. Now, can you open these and edit them?
Yes, all the Maxon,
Okay.
all the Rocket Lasso ones that we've made, you could technically open it up, say edit asset, and look at like the 500
Neat.
nodes that we put
Right.
together to create
That's
it.
super cool.
Potentially tweak it, modify
Yeah.
it, reverse engineer and see how we did it, so you can start building your own tools. So
Yeah, are
it's-
those lockable? Like if people made their own and wanted to lock it, or no?
I don't think so.
Not
I don't
that
think
that's
there's
the
any
best
locked.
idea, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say and I don't know what's on the Maxon roadmap, but it would be good if I could, because
Yeah,
a bunch
if you
of
wanted to
mistakes.
sell it
But
for
yeah.
putting
Yeah,
all
if
that
you wanna
work
sell
in,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah.
Similar to the way that you would do a plugin using just Espresso.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
We've done
Well,
that
yeah.
in the past.
Well, it's like, yeah, you could have a Python script, but then you get Python code that's public. You have Python code that's now been encrypted, so people can't get at the actual code. And then we're doing C++ plugins, so you don't get access to that code. So it would be good to be like, hey, Rocket Lasso made a capsule tool, and you could download it, install it somehow. Right now, there isn't a workflow for locking it or distributing it, so that people would get easy access to it. But in the future, I think that would be great. And it could just be that, nodes are being improved over time. The workflow is being improved, so maybe we're getting to the point where that could really become a workflow that people could make their own unique tools and distribute them.
Yeah.
This just in, the thing that I was asking you about, it's much better now. I went ahead and just downloaded it on my secondary computer so I could try it out. But yeah, what's cool is like with the thicken versus the Mo extrude, saw all those additional things or whatever as like a potential place to bevel, right? The thicken like just does the thickened area, which is really cool. So
Yes. And even that goes to, like, if you change your stack order, you get a completely different result. Like, oftentimes I'll take text and I won't use the built-in bevel. I'll apply a bevel deformer, because then it's going to bevel all the corners and not just the front and back face of it. So if you take your text and bevel it and then put it into a thicken, the thicken is going to either expand out the bevel or shrink the bevel potentially to nothing on the second, on the second skin that it's generating. But if you thicken it and then apply the bevel after the fact, then now you bevel out the nice clean geometry and then bevel both sides uniformly. So it's just as simple as changing the order of the children.
Ah, yeah, okay, I'm with you. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is it just me, or has the fold unfold tool been removed from right click? It's been changed to the group. Has it group ungroup? That's something different though, I thought. I don't know.
I see fold all and unfold all.
I wish that I could do, what is it? Now, of course, I don't remember because my muscle memory, but in After Effects, I select all and hit Alt tilde to collapse.
Oh, is that the
does.
keyboard shortcut? That's neat.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'm always Control A, Control tilde, Alt tilde, whatever it is. I'm constantly collapsing my stuff in After Effects. I'd love to do
Do you want to
that,
hear
so-
something annoying? In Unreal, anytime you open up a project, it unfolds every single level.
Oh, that's fun.
It's so annoying.
Tobias says Maxon 1 is 80% more than a Cinema 4D subscription, but you get more than just capsules with that.
Yeah, you get Red Giant, you get Redshift, you
Redshift,
get Universe, you get
ZBrush.
you get Porter.
Yeah, especially ZBrush in there,
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the things, too, is there are updates to their other tools as well. It's not just Cinema 4D.
That's true.
There are some of the things, the camera back plates, I noticed that's in Redshift now.
Yep.
A flake shader. There's a
For
ton of
making
stuff
car
in here.
paints. They got the new sky algorithm inside of Redshift to make nice looking instant skies. I didn't even know that tool was in there in general, but now there's an improved version of it.
Yeah, let me ask about, does that create clouds as well? Like, are you able
No.
to create clouds? Okay.
I don't think there's any
I didn't know if it was
clouds.
similar to the way V-Ray works now. Like V-Ray, there was a release with V-Ray to where you could make a physical sky with like clouds and all this other stuff. I've used that for a project where I've actually created my own HDRIs instead of going to something like Terrigen or something like that, you know, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think clouds are part of this, but it was during my stream, but it was kind of like, oh, like, hey, that'd be a good idea for the assets team at Maxon, like make an entire collection of volumes ready to be dropped in the Redshift, and just drag a collection of clouds in. That'd be really cool. And making cloud building rigs is really fun.
Yeah.
There's also updates to the Red Giant tools, Universe 2023.1, I guess. Unless this is from the, well, that's, I don't know. Is 2023.1 what just came out?
2023.2 is what just came out.
For Universe?
C4D.
Oh, for Universe, I don't know.
Because it says 2023.1. I didn't know if this was from earlier in the year.
I don't know if the Red Giant stuff has been updated yet. I'm not sure.
Because it's talking about the stylization tool to rebuild footage using letters, numbers, and symbols based on sort brightness values. I'll bring up this video here. You can see what I'm talking about. This is interesting. Was this already here or no? Kind of like doing an ASCII type fun thing. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's a great effect.
Look
at that.
That is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like people did this way back in the day, like in the 80s. People tried to make stuff like that. I think in fact, my parents had a portrait of themselves done where somebody used a typewriter and did it with letters. And
that's funny.
On a typewriter. I wonder what happened to that photo.
That's cool. You could remake that now. No problem.
Yeah.
With Mograph tools and some Red Giant stuff.
So a lot of updates to everything. I know ZBrush had some updates, and I am so like
Forger just got Z Remesher.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I need to download it and I need to play with it more. Like I feel like if I was just in bed sculpting.
Oh yeah.
You know.
The thing about ZBrush is I don't know enough about ZBrush.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just like, wow, this new stuff looks really cool. I bet it's great for whoever is really good at ZBrush, but I am not good at ZBrush. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing some actual examples, because that's where I really started to love ZBrush last year and want to really get into it more, is when they showed it off at NAB for the first time.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like it becomes like mesmerizing. It's like, what do you look at? It's just like magically being created. It's so cool, but never enough time in the day to like learn a piece of software that would essentially be a hobby.
Right. Every morning I go onto Patrick 4D's Discord, you know, because every single day he does a daily like food render or something, and it is absolutely just mesmerizing to watch. I love it. He's going to be at NAB as well. He's going to be doing his daily with some food. I don't know what it is. I kept telling him he needs to do like a buffet style where it's like a burger with everything on it, but
something Vegas related. I don't know what you would do.
Vegas buffet,
yeah, Vegas buffet.
Right.
Vegas, I don't know.
Yeah. It's really fun because every day he just picks a new thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then you watch him do it, and then you're like, okay, I need to eat that for lunch.
Corn on the cob graham crackers.
Corn on the cob
pizza.
Crust. Yeah.
Was that real?
No, it was fake.
Okay,
it was all just a marketing ploy to bring back the pretzel crust. It was done by the Tim and Eric team.
I didn't understand why. I thought, oh, this is a like April Fool's joke, but it wasn't April Fool's.
Like started like a week and a half ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
Justin wants to know, Chris, what is your longest Wordle streak?
Oh, yeah. He asked me that during every live stream, something about Wordle.
Oh, that's funny.
So it just goes to... I'm literally Googling it because I know Wordle's a thing and I don't know what it is.
Oh,
that's funny.
That's funny. So you don't play Wordle?
I don't play Wordle.
I thought maybe that was an inside joke or something.
It is an inside joke that I am on the outside of.
I was like, people still play Wordle? My mom still plays Wordle.
I played Wordle. I had to keep my streak up, and then when they updated to the New York Times, it killed my streak. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I'm never going back. I won't ever do it again.
Those streaks are important for user retention.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the list of features for ZBrush still, and I'm just like, okay, Patrick's gonna have to give us the updates on this. I don't know. Chris, do you know any? Did you hear anything about this that in particular? Because I just don't even understand half of it.
Yeah, and, I'm just not in the world of ZBrush.
Yeah,
I already had a 2-hour-long video. I couldn't make it any longer than that.
2 new tools, never before introduced in 3D sculpting. The proxy pose.
Okay.
Features a dynamic method for modifying the topology of models. I think you can pose something in a specific pose and then immediately go back to the pose that you had, that you started with.
Interesting.
I'm not 100% sure. Proxy pose, yeah.
And Redshift in ZBrush as well?
What?
Oh.
Fully GPU accelerated bias rendering in your ZBrush pipeline. That's what this says anay.
Well, there you go.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Redshift and ZBrush. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that at NAB. Is there anything else in the Cinema 4D tools that we didn't talk about?
A couple small things. Nothing we have to spend like a chunk of time on. There's a couple new nodes that were added in. There's like the closest points node, which is going to be a little advanced for most people to dive into, but I think it's going to enable Rocket Lasso to make a couple of really cool like networking nodes. So I'm looking forward to that. But one that everybody can use and probably would have use cases for it right away is the hull, the convex hull node or capsule. So all you do is you drag it into any model, and it's going to make a new mesh that perfectly surrounds your entire model. So almost imagine like a vacuum form where it's like every sharp edge is covered. So if you made a letter T, suddenly the corners of the T would be tapered in and directly connected. But it actually opens up a lot of really cool modeling opportunities, especially for simulation where you want to wrap something perfectly in like a piece of cloth. You could throw that in, subdivide it, remesh it, get a beautiful mesh covering it. The demo I did, I threw cloth on it and then pulled out, I used the balloon with a low pressure, and it made suction and automatically like vacuum wrapped some text. And then I threw a hull on that and put some actual thickness on there and made like a perfect like saran wrap effect.
That's cool.
So yeah, the hull modifier is another cool one to check out. You should do it, drag it into any object, like especially like a text object, just to see what it does, because I think it's going to create some cool parametric opportunities.
Are you presenting at NAB?
I am.
Yeah, you are.
What is that going to be on? You got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Well, what's funny is I'm actually not going to be talking about any specific new features. That's not the goal of it. And I literally, I was so busy with all of the What's New videos that I haven't even gotten this properly started. But in a recent Rocket Lasso Live episode, I got asked a question that I get literally asked like every year, which just goes to show that it's like people really want to be able to do this. And it was like, can we fold some paper? Like, what's a good way of folding paper?
Yes.
And it's always like, oh man,
yes.
there's so many limitations. Like in the past, it's like you could never get it working really well. So I was like, well, and I do this all the time in the live stream where it's like, listen, we've tried to tackle this question. We've never gotten very far, but let's try again. And this time we got it working. This time we got beautiful like folding cloth and paper. It's easy. It's art directable. It looks amazing. And this was even before some of the new additions like the thicken generator. Yeah. So the tentative title is like folding cloth and paper and origami. But I need to build out the presentation.
Yeah,
see how
origami capsule. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, an origami capsule where you're just selecting the lines or where you want to. Oh, dude.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm there.
The whole presentation is going to be about like folding stuff. And I'm going to be spending pretty much the next week doing nothing but exploring the possibilities, getting the workflow working the best that I can, and that'll be the presentation. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Have they announced anybody presenting yet? I don't.
Oh yeah, the whole list is.
Did they?
Is it?
I don't think they did.
They didn't announce. It's just in my email.
I think EJ said something and posted to some page, but like Patrick kept asking me, "Hey, have they announced anything? I need to say something."
Yeah, that's true. I think that they
posted.
They're getting so ready for DAT Tour that
DAT Tour, though.
I don't think that's
that it's fallen behind. They need to get.
3D Motion.
They need to post that.
Where did they used to post it? Like back before
It was
COVID?
C4D Live, wasn't it?
C4DLive.com.
Oh, that's right. That's right. C4DLive.com. Is that going? We got that? Let's see.
2023 events. Dates to be determined.
2023 events.
Yep.
Okay.
I've got it here in my list, but...
Am I on there?
Say anything.
I think it's everybody from last year right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Go team.
Yeah, that's everyone from last year, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say the list if Maxon hasn't published it, but we've got some of my favorite people are going to be there. So
yeah.
I'll
tune in. It'll be a good one. Come say hello at NAB.
Anything else? Anything else? Any other questions?
Everything in the new version that I can think of.
Yeah, I'm sure that we're going to be hearing a lot more during NAB, and we'll have a lot to talk about after NAB as well. I'm sure other people are doing announcements. I'm sure we'll have plenty of fun stories to tell. Karaoke night tales.
It's always amazing.
Yeah.
I am very excited.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you want to wrap this thing up? Put a bow on
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Put a bow on it.
Chris, thank you for joining us today, kind of last minute, so that we could talk about some of these things. And we've been flying by the seat of our pants trying to plan things for this year, so appreciate you.
Dude, that's the way everything is. There's so many moving parts moving with everything. It's crazy. But yeah, thanks for the invite. It's always great to be on.
Yeah. If people want to find you online, where do they need to go?
Rocket Lasso at allthethings.com, at Instagram, on YouTube especially. That's going to be the best place to follow, probably, where you're just constantly seeing the new videos and live streams that I post. So yeah, just search Rocket Lasso. You'll find us.
Cool.
Awesome.
And we're going to get out of here. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review, subscribe on your podcatcher of choice, help get our ratings up. You can say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, Feel the Bab 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee, Mograph blandishment shirt. And of course, that render is Fire shirt, which you're only allowed to wear ironically. Unless you're Shams. Shams going to be there? Shams coming to NAB? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
We're on YouTube, mograph.com, mograph.com/TV. You can turn it on, rip the knob off. I think there's a classic Rocket Lasso coming up after the show, after the commercial break. So you can get your Chris on. And and also there will be the video with all the new stuff in Cinema 4D. The video that they put out last week. That'll be playing actually before that. So yeah, stick around on Mograph TV. And other than that, I think we're good to go. Let's get out of here. Till next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
Thanks for having me.
You're Chris.
I'm Chris, yeah.
Have a good one.
Later, yo. Dude, this new thicket is really snappy. Tell you what.
Dude, I thought it was going to be, like I said, I was like, oh, this will be like a 10-minute section in the video. Like, oh my God, it's so good. Like layering. It gets a little technical to get into, but over audio, but the ability to take like one piece of text and essentially, if you have a font and the font doesn't have like a thin version, it doesn't have a bold version, like you can just make that now because you can turn on just like the inner skin or just the outer skin.
Yeah.